Welcome. The interaction between consumers and brands has changed forever. Marketing is now closer, powerful, and more pervasive than ever before. We have a major transformation going on between the relationship of consumers and marketers. The MMA, led by marketers, leads this imperative for marketing change in ways that shape the future and drive business growth today. My name is Chris Babiotti, and I'm the Managing Director of the MMA across EMEA. At the MMA, we believe the best way to thrive and the only way to survive is to capture this change right now by aggressively adopting proven, peer-driven, and scientific best practices without compromise. In all that we do, we are committed to bringing the right people together to challenge the status quo and provide a path forward. We invest millions in rigorous research to our marketers with truths and actionable tools. Our mission is to enable marketers to drive innovation and enduring business value in an increasingly dynamic and connected world. We're comprised of over 800 member companies globally, structured EMEA, APAC, LATAM and North America, with 14 regional offices. The MMA is the only marketing trade association that brings together the full ecosystem of marketers, tech providers, and sellers, all working collaboratively. Whatever your company, lean in, join us, link arms as we build the industry going forward. We're all about building capabilities for your success. So today I'm delighted to welcome each and every one of you to the MMA video podcast show. Without further ado, I'm delighted to hand over to our moderator today, Peggy Ann Saltz, MMA Germany's Chief Content Officer. Peggy is also a host of the Mobile Presence video podcast show, and that's a marketing top 25 worldwide podcast show. And she's a senior contributor to Forbes. So over to you, Peggy.
Marketers are grappling with seismic shifts and changes on numerous fronts. They include data privacy, identity, radical shifts in consumer behavior. All of these challenging, all hurdles present, however, an opportunity for the industry as well to improve digital advertising capabilities while also reimagining the potential of the open internet. I'm your host, of course, Peggy Ann Saltz, and we're going to be focusing on the reinvention of goals-based advertising and buying with my guest. She has served as CMO for Microsoft in the UK, where she's led marketing for the entire Microsoft portfolio. She's also led Facebook's global business marketing division as well, overseeing large teams across all of the markets in Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And she's now the Senior Vice President, EMEA, of the Trade Desk. Philippa Snare, welcome to our session today.
Thank you, Peggy. Thank you for having me.
I love this because it's such an interesting time. You know, the pandemic has been a catalyst for the greatest disruption in history, but at the Trade Desk, very interestingly as well, we've seen the launch of Solimar, the biggest upgrade in your company's history, as a matter of fact. How are the two intertwined?
Solimar represents the change we've seen in how consumers are changing their behaviour. We've been working on it for many months anyway. I think the pandemic has just accelerated that behaviour. So we've been talking for years about the importance of putting your advertising into the right context so that you've got your brand appearing next to brands that you're proud of. We've had discussions for years around transparency and how your data is being used as a consumer, but also the responsibility for advertisers to make sure that you're looking after that consumer's data and that you're serving them relevant and interesting adverts and information that they're looking for, rather than doing anything that would unnerve people because it seems like kind of a little bit spooky. So all of these things coming together, and people's behavior being shifting into really consuming much more online streaming data, like looking at doing more research online and actually fulfilling their purchases online, All of that has created an acceleration or a peak in more data being produced. Our recognition is that the advertising platforms need to show how they can use that data, show how they can enable advertisers to responsibly use that data to deliver better advertising. And so Solimar is an enabler to help advertisers run better, more contextually relevant and more brand safety kind of responsible advertising, but also manage the plethora or the peak in the amount of data that they're being given, and they're managing themselves where they haven't had a tool that can help them with that in the past.
I like that. It's putting the advertiser in control, but also the consumer in control, because we're talking about privacy, and this has been going on. We both know, Philippa, for a long time we've been discussing transparency, and now we're sort of, I wouldn't say forced in that direction, but there are events that have accelerated that. And another thing that we've seen accelerating is really just overall privacy approaches evolving and scaling, thinking that this is not a one-off or a one company. This is an industry-wide situation, issue, and collaboration. And one of these, of course, is Unified ID 2.0, or UID2, which is the trade desk. It's what it has championed. And you're working to get this ready for prime time, and the industry is waiting. Where does the effort stand?
We talk about the open internet as a place where it's where you, as a consumer, go and kind of consume your favorite content, you download recipes, you go and watch your favorite TV shows, and we're just seeing that behavior become more and more targeted, where you're spending more time on and discerning the kind of content that you want to receive. Unified ID is basically a piece of technology that will ask you for your email address. It will then, once you visit a website or anywhere where they're going to ask you for consent. So you're giving your email address as that barter, as that piece of information for that consent. That will be totally anonymized. It will be turned into a piece of code. That code will be refreshed really quickly, really regularly. So that code can never be tracked. It can never be hacked. And then you're basically then, as a consumer, giving that piece of code to websites to say, here's my information. I understand how you're going to use it. Now you can give me relevant information back. And so I understand what I've done to barter my information and my value back for the content that I most want, or I think is most important to me in my life. We haven't had as an industry a solution like that that hasn't been tied to one or another provider. We haven't had one that's been completely adopted by the entire industry and not benefiting one type of business or another more than others. And so the intent behind the Unified ID solution is that gets given to the industry. It's being managed and owned and operated by a objective owner. So for the US, pre-bid is going to be that controller. And companies like Nielsen and big agencies like Publicis and Omnicom and IPG, as well as publishers like the Washington Post or measurement partners like Nielsen, all of those partners, and there are many of them, have all signed up to this because they all see the benefit of having a piece of technology that nobody owns and there's no bias in it, but the whole industry can adopt and then give everybody the security and the confidence that consumers' data is protected because we're kind of putting the control in their hands, but the industry can still function and people can still provide great content and really great experiences because it's going to be funded by advertising that will still be valued by consumers.
But that is exciting. Just as a clarification for me as well, we're talking about the open internet. So that means it's also audiences across websites, obviously, but apps,
Yeah,
podcasts, everything?
absolutely. So anywhere where you're going to exchange, your email address or your contactability, for in return for content or downloads or experiences or services. Yeah, it can be across multi-channel, which is another important point to make. I think the only solutions that we've had so far, and I know we're going to come on and talk about like the depreciation of third-party cookies, but that solution worked for a few large organizations but didn't work for everybody, whereas this is to work across multi-channel, or as marketeers would say, omni-channel solutions for all consumers whenever they're trying to access data that they want or services that they want.
Where are we then on that? Has it been, I say it's ready for prime time. Where are we in that timeline?
So the exciting thing is we've had it in beta for over 6 months now. We've already got nearly 200 million users associated with the Unified ID 2, and that's really before we've rolled it out beyond the US. So we're now just starting to ingest data further, but even that in itself, and we're growing triple-digit growth numbers every week. So that number is just growing and growing, and we're very confident that the whole solution is going to be representative of a very large global audience in a very short period of time. It's possible because the Trade Desk has those relationships with so many publishers globally, so many measurement partners globally, so many of the big agency holding groups, and so because of that, it's all of those people that have the relationships with the consumers, not the Trade Desk. And so they're the ones that are really driving that adoption at scale.
That's also a very good point for this discussion, because you are at the center of that ecosystem. You're enabling this, you are driving this particular initiative, but you're also able to see a lot of what has happened out there since IDFA dropped. Google's put its plans to scrap third-party cookies on hold, relief for some, but overall, we're seeing incredible innovation across ad technology. We're also seeing anxiety, to be honest, Philippa, but we are seeing a lot going on out there. You're at the center of this. What are you seeing at the Trade Desk?
We're seeing two things. We're seeing, as you said, a lot of people looking at this as an opportunity, and absolutely there's a breadth of thank goodness that's not going away as quickly as we thought it was going to do, because we hadn't figured out all the solutions. And there's a lot of clients who are trying to manage all of their own first-party data, and they were really struggling to figure out what they were going to do when that depreciation happened. So there is a bit of a sigh of relief in one sense, but there's also a number of companies like us that are looking at this as an opportunity to let's make sure that we've got a solution so that when this does come, we already have started to work in a new way, and we're already giving people the benefits across the whole industry of how to make sure that the quid pro quo of the internet still works for everyone. We think the right way to approach it is to make sure that we have alternative solutions. We have a credible solution that if we had built this in the beginning, it would have always been an objective industry-wide kind of currency or solution that's protecting the advertiser and protecting the consumer. We've got an opportunity now to reinvent that and create something that does that. And so we think it's a really good opportunity not only to build a piece of technology like we have with Unified ID, get partners involved so that they are part of the solution, and most importantly get consumers involved so that they're also expecting a solution that they're in control of, so that they feel like their data is something that they're managing. Now I think we've got that with Unified ID, and we've certainly got the adoption like driving and accelerating really quickly. So for me, I think it's not time to sit back. It's time to adopt something that should have been built in the first place, safeguard your business and how you make money as an advertiser and as a publisher. And then when the third-party depreciation does come around, it's not a worry. You don't even have to think about it because you're already acting in the new way.
And another thing that's coming more to the fore is really thinking holistically. We've talked about it. Again, this is something we talk about, but I think this is the acceleration. This is the transformation. People are thinking holistically. Marketers are saying, I want to be more holistic. I want to leverage data and grow audiences across websites, apps, podcasts, streaming TV platforms, connected TV, and much more. And they also want to understand how their ad spend performs holistically. That's the goal. What do you see as the barrier?
I think in the past, what we've had is a belief that digital all up was going to provide good quality data, and that's taken longer to actually turn into reality. So that's one thing. And then the second thing is that because of the pandemic, the adoption and people's consistency in using alternative platforms that tend to be digital. So whether that's going on to Amazon and other sites to fulfill like kind of your shopping and that sort of thing, or whether it's going to alternative platforms such as connected TV to stream your media and audio. I think that's all happened like very quickly in the last couple of years, which means that data that we've always thought could have been there has now really started to come through. The challenge, I think I said before, knowing what to do with that data and having the capabilities and the expertise in your business to turn that data into actionable insights, into some things that where you're like, you can see what the customer journeys are like. So I know, when I'm looking to buy something, I might do some research first of all on I might go to Google. I might then look around at some websites that the particular ratings of a kind of product. I might then go and check on Amazon whether it's expensive or not. Then I might go directly to the brand site that's selling the product. Then I might go and look at some blog posts about other people who have bought it. All of that journey now is much more easy to track because a lot of it is on digital. And even when somebody might, go offline and go into a store to actually touch and feel something like a sofa, they might still not necessarily close the purchase there. They might still come back online because there might be some better deals on to fulfill it. All of that data now is the ability to actually capture it and then get really smart people, certainly smarter than me, to then read it and turn it into insights and then figure out how to build your advertising campaigns around those customer journeys is now possible. The challenge is the volume of data that people are dealing with. They need help in how to manage it.
We've always been very data driven in thinking, but advertisers clearly need to be more deliberate in that. They need to sharpen their focus on what you're calling goals-based buying and advertising. And your CEO, co-founder Jeff Green at the Trade Desk talks about the reinvention of goals-based buying. Now that's very interesting. What's meant here? What's new here?
Effectively, goals-based buying is when me as an advertiser looks and kind of builds a campaign, and we're really clear about the outcome that we want that campaign to achieve. And we start with that goal in mind. So whether that's a download, whether that's like changing someone's mindset, whether it's going to a different website to engage in something or experiencing or reading an ebook or like watching some stream media, getting to the very specific ultimate goal that campaign is trying to drive, and then working backwards through that customer journey to figure out what the key performance indicators are. It might not be a performance journey, it might be a brand awareness journey, but identifying what those KPIs are that are indicative, but they aren't the ultimate goal. And I think what we've done in the past and up until this point before we've had tools like Solimar is we've focused on the goals that the publishers can sell. So it might be based on just the number of impressions they can give. And that's where the journey ends, when we all know that's not really like the ultimate goal of the campaign. So what Solimar has done, and I'm just so excited about the potential of this platform and what we're seeing come through from advertisers that are already engaging with it, is they've simplified all of that amazing data points that we're getting now from people's behaviours online. It's a kind of AI platform that can turn that into some intelligence and make suggestions about, if your ultimate goal is this, then here are our suggestions on how to drive that goal for your campaign as quickly as possible.
And as you said, a lot of that is about understanding the consumer. And you've done research into consumers. You know, how do they want to be dealing with their data? They want control of their data. Your research showed that 79% of UK adults are concerned about the collection and use of their data on the internet. Now, that's a difficult balancing act because, of course, consumers also want convenience all the time. They want a seamless experience. What else did your data tell us about how to balance that?
Well, so there is that concern, but there's also balanced out, like kind of 8 in 10 Brits, for example, are stating they'd like to understand more about what their data is being collected for and how that's being used to make their browser experience better. Over 50% of them are also saying, like, I'm really comfortable with you collecting my data as long as I feel I'm in control of then what's being displayed to me. So there's concern about it, but it's really, I think, around this transparency. So the more we can put those decisions or that understanding in front of the consumers, in front of us, so I can say, like, hey, yeah, I am in the market at the moment and looking at cars. And so, yes, I would like to see different suggestions about the kind of cars and like what's going on with the electric kind of adoption at the moment. And then when I've purchased a car, I'd like to be able to also say, I'm done now. I don't want any more of those ads. Thanks very much, because I'm not in the business. So I think a lot of it is about a better transparency for them, feeling like they're in control, and really like honest communication about why they're like what they're giving and what they're getting in return for that transparency or for that data.
You paint a scenario that's absolutely wonderful that we'd all love to have, I'm sure, that it's like, yes, I bought that. You just didn't see it because your data wasn't as holistic as it should be. So yes, I was researching. It's happened to me many times. I'm researching something, I do buy it, and I'm still getting ads for it. I'm still getting offers for it. Is there something here within all of the capabilities, the AI within Solimar, is there something that's going to give us that off switch?
I mean, yes, there is, and Unified ID can do that, but it also is a collaboration between the publishers, ourselves, or whoever's going to be running this technology, because we want to hand that over to somebody like we've done in the US with Prebid, who is totally objective about like the use of this technology, and then also the media platforms as well, and the consumer, like the consumer also has to lean into that, because you have to go in and like kind of change your settings or change your preferences to make sure that people are understanding that you've now like completed that purchase. And putting the control in the consumer's hands means that they also have to go in and take an active part of managing their data as much as the people that they've given consent to talk to them with. So I think it's a step. Maybe the last 5 years has been the getting people comfortable with understanding what they're trading when they're giving their information across. Now the pandemic has really pushed the adoption of a lot of digital services that has mean people are much better educated as to the nature of online advertising and the value of it and how it can be really useful. I think the next step is, once we've got this tool fully established, then being able to educate the consumers about how they need to play an active role in managing the messaging that's coming to them.
Well, you said it, this is what the future is going to be looking like. Great segue to my last question, which I love. Looking ahead, the biggest opportunity on the horizon, or the one tip you would give to marketers around how to prepare for it?
Adopting tools and getting familiar with managing large sets of data, getting the capabilities into your organization that can turn that data into insights, and then really understanding like the omni-channel approach, as in the different types of channels that are coming online now, that where the consumers are already spending their time, like connected television, like audio, and making sure that you're building that into your overall campaign approach. Those two things, I think, will make an enormous difference. It's not only going to make your campaigns follow your customer journeys, but it will also then give you the insights where you can really learn real time how to deliver messages in the moment that the consumer's looking for it.
Thank you, Philippa and Peggy, for those wonderful insights. For other podcasts in our series, do check out our playlist on the MMA EMEA channel on YouTube and the MMA EMEA channel on LinkedIn. And for more information on Solimar, visit solimar.tradedesk.com. That's solimar.tradedesk.com.